What does the initial agreement between Israel and Hamas for a ceasefire entail?
Good evening, everyone. The agreements are the same that taken place in 34 Israeli captives in exchange for a number of Palestinian captives and a gradual withdrawal from the Gaza Strip from the populated areas first. Hamas issued a message yesterday saying that they agree to push the disagreements for later stages to start the stages of exchanging hostages and captives. But the political will of the Israeli side has not advanced in this regard, and they are trying to start from Trump assuming his position as President of the United States of America. He is going to arrive to Tel Aviv today to have a meeting with Netanyahu, and the results of this meeting will clarify if there is going to be a deal during the coming few hours or days. We're gonna wait for a week to see the results.
So approximately 50 complaints were filed against Israeli soldiers in 10 countries. How do the rising war crime charges affect Israel's standing globally?
There were 50 complaints regarding the UNRWA or the war crimes committed in Israel. If we're talking about the war crimes committed in Gaza Strip, they are still taking place, and complaints are still being filed against the personnel of the Israeli army. And if we're talking about UNRWA, some states such as Spain, Norway, Portugal, number of these states will go to the ICC after they have taken a consultative opinion from the United Nations to sue Israel regarding the UNRWA issue, especially that UNRWA is the custodian of the identity of Palestinian refugees since 1948, and it has always called for a peaceful solution for this cause and putting an end for the refugee tragedy. But the Israeli Knesset has admitted a law to stop the work of the UNRWA, and it will be implemented by the end of this month. The United Nations and the US has condemned this decisions and requested Israel to find alternatives for the UNRWA work. And this is highly difficult, especially that the UN bodies such as UNICEF and the WHO and the FAO rejected to being alternatives for the UNRWA. They do not want to be alternatives for the UNRWA, especially because UNRWA have 13,000 employees on the Palestinian territories and more than 10,000 working with Palestinian refugees, or more than 3,000 UNRWA personnel serving the displaced populations in the Gaza Strip, providing education and healthcare services. And this, when we're only talking about 2 million people in the Gaza Strip alone receiving services from the UNRWA personnel.
Now, sir, building on what you said regarding the humanitarian situation, with over 46,000 Palestinians dead, what are the most pressing humanitarian needs in Gaza?
56,000 dead. These are the numbers estimated the roughly estimated population, but we're talking about 41% of these rates of the dead is not taken into consideration. We're talking about 70,000 martyrs and dead in this genocide taking place till this moment. Is this the tragedy taking place in the Gaza Strip is unprecedented, and it is still ongoing, and the world is standing watching this tragedy taking place, calling upon other parties to stop this crisis. There is a severe humanitarian crisis, healthcare-wise, food-wise, and we're talking about the food security, for example. The international system is a signature on the Rome system to ensure food security for the displaced populations, even in the time of war, which is violated by Israel, violating the international law and the international humanitarian law. And this international system stood unable to impose this global will on the occupying force, and we're waiting for the US being headed by President Trump. We're waiting for results, but we have seen them threatening in a video and criticizing. We can see different views and conflicting views from Trump, and we are still waiting to see what are the stands to be.
Now, sir, I would like to ask you about the arrest warrants issued by the International Criminal Court against Benjamin Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant for committing war crimes. What are the implications of this, and can Israel really do measures to counteract this?
These resolutions have great implications in Israel, and there will be more implications on the global level, especially when more states acknowledge these resolutions to arrest the Prime Minister of Israel, who is convicted now of war crimes. This also going after different elements from the Israeli military. We have different documents condemning these military personnel in different states around the world. The implications of this are still taking place in Israel, and there are attacks and criticism being directed towards the famous institutions in Israel, and we have seen more than 1,000 names for Israeli criminals who launched these genocide coups. This is the only point where the international and local resolutions take place. The United Nations or the Security Council cannot veto to stop these resolutions, or we have seen some prime ministers and presidents taking guarantees to receive Netanyahu in the memory of the Holocaust and so on, but these guarantees has not received any acceptance on the international level. So Netanyahu now is facing a great crisis on the local and international levels. Netanyahu is facing 4 lawsuits for embezzlement and bribery, and he's also associated with some companies with ill reputations, and these are some of the reasons making Netanyahu insist to continue this war and the war crimes and the genocide. The Israeli state also is now being sued by the ICC as being a terrorist state, which is a stigma now for the Israeli state, as its prime minister is a terrorist minister. This prime the international the
Thank you, sir. That was writer and researcher Ahmad Zakarneh. Thank you so much for your insights and for joining us on Q News.